Good afternoon. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us here. I'm calling this meeting to order. This is the Metropolitan Planning Organization Policy Committee, the MPO. We're meeting here at the Council Chambers for the City of Laredo at 1110 Houston Street, Laredo, Texas, obviously. Today's March the 18th, 2019, and it's 1:44 p.m. on the same day. So, who we call, roll call, please?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Mayor Pete Sines,
Present?
Web County Judge Tano E. Tejerina,
Present.
Councilmember Norma Nelly Vielma, Councilmember Dr. Marta Martinez, Councilmember George Alguel, County Commissioner Jesse Gonzalez, County Commissioner John Galo,
Present.
Texas District Engineer David M. Salazar Jr., and Texas District Administrator Melissa Montemayor. For the record, you do have a quorum.
We have a quorum barely, but we do have a quorum. Thank you very much. Next item is the citizens' comment portion. Do we have anyone that has signed up? And if not, you still have a little time. I don't see anyone approaching the lectern, so I'm presuming that there's no citizens' comments. Thank you. Next item is items requiring policy committee action, and that's item A. That's Roman numeral 4A. Approval of the minutes for the meeting held on January 22nd, 2019, and February the 19th.
Approve the minutes if there's no changes. Second.
Okay, there's a motion, a second, as presented, to approve the minutes of both days. Discussion? None heard. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
All those against say no. None heard. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Next item is receive public testimony. Excuse me, and initiate a 10-day public review and comment period for the following proposed amendments to the 2019-22 Transportation Improvement Program, which is the TIP, and it's got 9 items there. We call upon Ms. Guerra to.
Move to open up the public testimony.
Okay, there's a motion
Second.
to open the public hearing for public testimony. There's a second discussion. None heard. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those against? None heard. Motion carries unanimously. It is a public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak for or against? Yes, go ahead, Ms. Guerra.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. The Transportation Improvement Program is our 4-year planning document, and any projects that are going to lead or go to construction within the 4-year planning horizon, which is from 2019 to 2022, must be listed within the planning document. What's being proposed today is the initiation of a comment period in order to add 4 projects and to revise 4 projects. The projects that are being proposed for addition, TxDOT has proposed the addition of these projects, and they include.
Would you hold your thought? Yeah, we do have a commissioner, council member as well, George Algett, not joining us. Thank you.
Sure.
Go ahead, please.
Okay, and I'll just take you very quickly through the projects that are being proposed for addition, unless TxDOT wants to, whenever you want to, if you want to jump in. The first project, we wanted to make sure that you know that there was a correction on the description. The project is intended to provide for the widening of I-35 from 0.38 miles south of US 59 to 0.8 miles north. That's the correction, north of 59. The estimated project cost is $5,911,775, and the proposed letting date, or when it's going to go to construction.
And also, hold your thought again. We do have another commissioner and council member, Dr. Marta Martinez, joining us. Thank you, sir. Go ahead, please.
Is in 2019. There's a map in your packet. The next project proposed for addition is the widening of I-69 West. If you recall, this is the project that we had submitted for the build grant. It was from I-35 to the World Trade Bridge. The estimated total project cost is $18 million, and proposed letting date is 2020. The next project proposed for addition is in order to provide for the construction of a right turn lane on Mines Road Big Bend Boulevard to Killam Industrial Boulevard. Total project cost is $4,167,000, and proposed letting date is 2019 for that project. The next project proposed for addition is a transit project. If you recall, last year, the policy committee allocated $200,000 to the transit projects wherein they were gonna rehab or rehabilitate approximately 17 bus shelters. That project is being proposed for addition to the planning, to the document. Also, and that is proposed for letting in 2021. And the rest of the projects are listed for revision, mostly to revise letting dates and not scope. The first project proposed for revision is the pedestrian trail at Chacon Creek, and the letting date is moving from 2019 to 2020. The next project being proposed for letting date moving is the Fletcher Lane Las Cruces project. That's the realignment project, and that is also moving from 2019 to 2020. The Colton Road Overpass, that project is also being proposed for moving from 2019 to a 2020 letting date. And the final project is the hike and bike trail located at Anna Park to the LCC campus. Again, it's moving from 2019 to 2020. So the final four projects are simply moving possible construction dates.
If I may,
Yes, sir, go ahead.
the
Commissioner
Calton
Gill.
overpass, I mean, that's like, what, 10 years now in the making?
That's correct, sir. I think we have somebody here from the engineering department who they had
Oh, you condemned
a status, a
the
meeting
property there.
just recently on it.
People were not very happy about it, like, it's been years now.
Good afternoon, Honorable Chairman and the members of the committee. Ramon Chavez, City Engineer for the record. Let me provide you just a brief update. We met with the consultant last week based on all the questions that have been asked, just to see where we're at. So just here briefly, the acquisition has been made except for one of the properties. Plans have been updated to 2014 text dot specifications and are ready to be submitted to text dot for final let review. And right now, one of the things that I'll be working on with staff will be a Union Pacific Railroad agreement that is pending and some relocation of fences. So in the immediate time, that's something that we'll be working on as we speak.
Why is the one property pending?
I'll
Y'all
have
started
to.
condemnation a long time ago.
Right, so according to my notes and the meeting, there's some pending litigation to be completed.
But I thought in condemnation in this type of environment, you took immediate possession as long as you escrowed the money.
That was my
And you
understanding.
just fight over price after that, right?
So I can get you those specific details. That was what was discussed as part of the meeting, and that's part of the things that I'll be working on as part of all this to make sure that we have all that information.
Could you hold your thought, please?
Yes.
We do have a Commissioner Nelly Vilma, council woman as well, joining us. You're welcome. Go ahead, sir, please.
But again, I just, like I said, this has been ongoing for, this was a federal grant,
No, this is an earmark, sir.
or earmark, okay.
It's an earmark.
Okay, well,
And-
earmark.
and
But I
the-
mean, it's
yeah.
been set aside for how long?
Oh, gosh, I wanna say we got the monies maybe prior to 2005. It's been a while.
And so with this, we're here at this point, and I become here the city engineer as of recently. I can't speak for pessimists, but I'm gonna be working on this.
Okay, so we do have a projected date. It was moved now, a commencement of construction should be, when again?
2020, sir.
2020. Sometime in 2020, no specific.
We have August of 2020 here, and
So-
part of the meeting.
Everything that's remaining is within your department then?
At this point, that is the
Nothing where
information.
TxDOT has to do, right?
Right now, from what I've informed, yes, that is correct. The only thing from TxDOT would be just the consultant submitting these plans for review and approval.
Very good, thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Chavez. Any other questions on that item? Okay, it's a public hearing. Anyone else wishing to speak for or against? For or against? So we'll continue a 10-day period window.
We would
for,
need a motion to initiate the comment period.
I'll move to initiate the 10-day, review period and comment period.
Okay, there's a motion, a second is presented to initiate the 10-day window period for comments. Discussion, not heard. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those against say no. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Next item is item B.
Move to,
No, I'm sorry,
C.
it's C.
move to open up the public testimony.
And there's a motion to, and of course, item C is receive public testimony, initiate a 10-day public review and comment period for the following proposed amendments of the 2015-2040 Metropolitan Transportation Plan. It's at MTP, and it's got
Let me
also,
amend my motion to go ahead and to initiate the 10-day, what is it?
comment period.
Comment review period.
Okay, as
For this one
amended,
as well? For this one as well, for the
Yes.
MTP? Okay.
So we don't have to do it.
as amended and seconded by Dr. Martin Martinez. And discussion not heard. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those against say no. Motion carries unanimously. So it's a public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak for or against this item? For or against? And if not, you've got 10 days to submit your comments. Okay, all those, do we need further action? I think we covered it.
No, we're fine on both of those.
Okay, thank you. So that covers C. D, moving on to D, your motion to consider approval of the amendment of the Laredo El Metro ADA bus stops and bicycle plaza enhancement project funded by the MPO
So moved.
in 2018. There's a motion and a second, and it's got two items there. Discussion? None heard. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those against say no. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to E. It's a motion to authorize a 2019 call for projects for the Laredo MPO Transportation Alternatives TA set-aside program in order to allocate $1,170,000, is it 6,000? Yeah, in TA federal funds, requiring a 20% match of $294,000, totaling $1,478,000 in total project costs. Is there a motion?
So moved.
There's a motion, is there a second?
And
Second
for the
discussion?
record, what is this project?
Oh, this is a program wherein the MPO is allocated a certain amount of funds. It's approximately $344,000 every year in order to fund transportation alternative type projects. The MPO is required to allocate those projects through a competitive process. So we issue a call for projects, and then we receive project proposals wherein.
Such as?
Oh, they could be we've had a number of projects that have already gotten monies. The transit project is one of them. We've had a couple of hike and bike projects that have been funded through this program.
Like, could we use this for improvements maybe to, I don't know, maybe the city already does this with the Chacon Creek. So if we could, at some future time, do the equestrian center where you might be able to use that same walkway or jogging path to get from Life Downs to the river.
The projects need to connect. It can't just be for recreational purposes only, so it can't be a loop. It needs to be able to connect endpoints or places of interest. So we need to connect a park to a park, or a transit facility to a school, or something like that. It just can't be for, I don't know exactly the project you're talking about, but I do know that it needs to connect so that it provides a mode of transportation.
Okay.
But it's like safe routes to school type projects. I have a couple of, it says, the TAP, or Transportation Alternatives, encompasses a variety of smaller scale transportation projects such as pedestrian and bicycle facilities, recreational trails, safe routes to school projects, community improvements such as historic preservation and vegetation management, environmental mitigation related to stormwater and habitat connectivity. So it's got a broad scope of things that could be eligible.
Let me follow up with that, too, with that thought. If the monies are allocated to the metro, then it's up to the metro people to
No,
decide?
it's allocated, they're allocated to the MPO, the 344,000. It does have a 20% local match, but we have to advertise it, like,
Well, you're losing me with those numbers, cause here we're matching it with 294 and it's a total
That's
of
right,
1,000,000,
because-
476, 470.
correct, sir, let me go back.
Okay.
We're gonna try to put out for a number of years. We had 144,000 remaining in 2018 from our 344,000 that were allocated.
When we say
Well,
we, it's the MPO.
The MPO, only allocated 200,000 to the one project that was submitted in 2018. So there's a remaining balance of 144,000 for the 2018 allocation. And then in, fiscal year 2019, 2020, and 2021, there's another 344,000 available for each of those years.
For a total of that
The total
1.4?
is the 1,176,000, and of course, that the total amount will require the 294,000 in, matching funds. And that doesn't mean that the project has to be 1,176,000, of course, it could be smaller. And it'll require, the required 20%.
Here, basically, we're saying,
This is the total amount
we're
available.
giving the authority, these monies are coming to the MPO, we can decide later as to how we apply?
Well, we have to ask for projects. People need to submit projects, and then they'll compete. They'll be graded and ranked.
Okay,
and
but
then
we're
they'll be-
authorizing the process now, right?
Yes,
By
we're
approving this
authorizing
motion?
for people to submit projects
well, that's
for
fine.
funding.
Yeah, we're not selecting a project.
Right.
I have a question if I may.
Yes, ma'am.
How long is the period of the call for projects?
It's gonna be, I think we allowed a good amount of time here. I think it's April 30th. April 30th will be the due date. I'm sorry, May, pardon me, I misspoke. It's May 30th. It's, the packet, the application guidance packet is in your packet in front of you. It's May 30th.
Yeah, so there's monies there and they've been accumulating or will accumulate now, correct?
Yeah, we've spoken with TxDOT and they allow us to put out for 3 years in advance. So it's the 2019.
Of the 144 that was left over, do we have to match that again?
Whoever gets the money would have to match the
Or
144.
whoever gets, when they get the money?
When they get the
So
money.
Okay.
Okay, so in other words, be thinking, like I said, all of us, if you all have projects that fit this mold, you all can apply. But it's gotta be done by May 30th?
Yes, the submittals are due May 30th.
If we have any questions, they
Yeah.
can visit with you personally.
Contact me.
Okay.
And we'll have, the application and the guidance will be on our MPO website and the city's website.
Okay, any further business on this? And if not,
Question.
go ahead, sir.
Motion to call for question.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those against? Not heard, motion carries unanimously, thank you. Next item is a motion to allocate, $43 million, from the 2020 Unified Transportation Plan, that's the UTP, to the frontage road projects on Highway US 59, future, the IH 69, and,
Move
let's see
to
what
approve
else.
with
Yeah.
discussion.
Okay, there's a motion to approve the discussion, is there a second?
Mr. Chairman,
Second?
there was one correction. TxDOT has notified us that they would like to add one additional CSJ number. So that it should read CSJs at 006140860, 07, and 088. So that's the
Amend
one
my
need
motion to
that's
include that
missing.
amendment.
Okay, 088 as well. Okay, and it was second, discussion, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanna know, so all the overpasses are gonna remain the same, now we're just allocating this extra money to the frontage road, so we haven't done that,
Starting on the north
yeah,
side.
we haven't done that plan where we're segregating
Yeah,
again.
if you can recall, Commissioner Galo, all 5 interchanges have been funded at about $97 million. We were short about $107 million for the frontage roads. This 43 will be applied towards the frontage roads, and then we'll work our way down, and hopefully we can use that to leverage the additional $63 million that we need.
And I know we were speaking earlier, but the proposal that the RMA was putting together for a application grant or something like
For
that?
the infra grant, sir. For the infra grant.
EFA grant,
That
okay.
was submitted.
So,
was submitted.
and did they include the 43 million?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So again, that will go, so hopefully, when would we know if we were lucky on that?
Usually,
Kurt, I'm gonna have
Let's say
to
May and
rely on
June is
FHWA.
done.
Yeah, we haven't been told an exact date of decision, but typically, we have Kirk Faber here from Federal Highway Administration. Kirk, isn't that kind of within about 4 months or so that we hear back?
I think the past has been around May or June, and,
October-ish?
a little later, okay.
Well, we have nothing letting anyway, right? So,
Correct.
Okay, so, yeah, any other discussion here? And if not,
well, sorry, one follow-up question. And if it doesn't, if the grant doesn't get, if we don't get the award, this is the way you wanna handle it?
That's correct.
Can we do, it was 110 million that we were missing for just the north side or for the whole thing? It was for the whole thing, no?
It was $107 million for the entire frontage roads.
Yeah.
170?
So, 100
So,
Frontage. Seven,
107.
107.
so with the 43, can we do the north side?
Yes, we can definitely start on the north side and work our way south.
So can we package that up already, even if we get the grant, or no?
We'll just replace it.
Basically, what's going on right now, we can pad it up, and like Melissa said, we can replace those funds. And like you are well aware, we have their project design where we can break it up into different pieces. I'm not prepared to come here and explain exactly which ones we're gonna go with. but
I'm sorry, I can barely hear, I'm getting.
It's gonna be our intent that we start up north and work
Yeah.
our way down south, and we can certainly pad it with those dollars that they do come in.
But I'm saying, so is that enough to start the whole north side?
Yes,
So that would be Shiloh and Delmar, right?
I believe we had enough to start the two up north and possibly tie in a little bit further
To
south.
TAMU?
To TAMU, that's correct.
So TAMU,
Just south of University, to end up just south of.
oh,
University.
end up south of, so not doing the overpass at University.
So, we
The,
have the
the
funds.
overpass is.
Oh,
Yeah,
South of-
all 5 overpasses are
oh, south of
completely
University,
funded.
I'm sorry,
Yes.
south of University.
All 5 overpasses, including the one at TAMU, are completely funded right now.
Yeah.
As of right now. This money will be allocated just to the frontage roads.
Yeah, this is important enough. Can we get a diagram or some image so the public can,
Yeah, we have one, Mayor.
Roberto?
This will be a good item.
There you go.
This is where the overpasses are: Shiloh, Delmar, University, TAMU, Yakima.
okay, those, for the public's sake, and I think, some of us know this, but I think, since we're going back and forth, we do have the monies for the overpasses, correct?
Yes,
Roberto, will you mind standing up there so you can kind of
Okay, so
do the overpasses?
Go ahead,
it'll be Shiloh, Delmar, and University, complete package with frontage roads all the way. What more can I ask for, right?
On both sides, obviously, right?
Frontage road.
Bike and pedestrian.
So, Roberto, if you can
shaded
kinda
bike and
show-
pedestrian
Yeah, okay.
corridors
Show
along the
where
side.
this money will allow us to construct frontage roads from the northernmost point
Okay.
all the way down, and if you can follow your cursor, if we can
Sure.
follow your cursor down.
Correct. Roberto,
Okay, where are
yes,
we
we
there?
text that.
Right, that's international.
That's international right
already
here. Well,
complete.
This one we will get to about right here.
Correct.
Just south
And
of-
that's the frontage road, correct?
Frontage
Frontage
road
Frontage with overpass.
with the overpasses.
Yes, the overpasses are funded already. There's 5 overpasses, but we're gonna be able to build the
Okay.
frontage roads all the way to.
So
the
when
south.
can we let? Tomorrow?
I wish it was that easy. I think the proposed date is
2020, right now what we got is 2022. To let some of these interchanges, and it will let together with the interchange.
Wait. How do we get 2022? We were supposed to let this year on the airport, and then we flipped them.
No, the airport
Actually, we were
actually,
supposed to let last year on the airport. That was the original date.
no, originally it was in fiscal year 2019, the airport.
Yeah, so that was September of-
2024.
That was October of 18, right?
I believe so,
Oh.
somewhere there, but,
I don't recall.
that got moved to 2024, maybe.
Yeah, that one got
a
moved, but
while back.
how did something not come back down, is what I don't understand. So now that we got, I know we were waiting just on the armory and the kitchen,
Correct, the armor,
and then you got utilities.
Those dates that were this year, Those were actually dates that were being proposed by the last entity that was preparing the PSNE. And then remember, we took over the PSNE back using our design funds. So, once, we are now working on this is now a reasonable time frame to let these projects.
22? That's not reasonable.
Well, considering that we are finalizing the schematic and we're beginning the PSNE, this is an interstate facility. So with utility adjustments and, coordination that's required for this type of a project, I think it's actually fairly aggressive.
So when would the utility adjustments start?
Anna, we have our PM for this project this
Not
year.
in 22, I hope that starts before.
Anna, if you wanna come forward.
And that would be a big part of it, just like we've done in the past. Once we get that tied down, the first step will be getting these utilities out of the way. So we gotta give them time to get out of there as well. And then we'll start with the construction. We certainly don't wanna let this with those utilities being in the way.
Anna Duncan with Texas for the record, utility acquisition cannot start until we have right-of-way acquisition. Like the utility adjustment table, cannot start until we have right-of-way acquisition, so that's what we're working on.
Okay, can I pull my hair
But
out?
we are already in the process of, negotiating the contract to begin all the subsurface utility investigation, which means identifying every single, utility that's within the corridor. We are getting right of entry to get permission to get into all the properties. We have about half of them right now, so we're already working within the proposed right-of-way, doing investigative work. And, the big thing is to have that already engineered as to where are we gonna move the utilities, so that's being worked on. So as soon as we can start the move, that's ready to go. We wanna have it already programmed, already scheduled, already ready to go.
Let me ask you this, there's a little confusion maybe in my mind. We applied for the infra grant, and we're saying we need 35 million, because we're leveraging, the entire project is 244. What is the 244, overall value of this Loop 20 contain?
That's the entire corridor, that's the entire segment.
The entire corridor from International to 59, correct?
Yes, sir.
59,
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that's at 244. Okay, we're asking for 35. What will the 35
Oh, we're
cover?
asking for
Carmen, it was
57.
42.
Huh?
In the infra grant, it's asking for 42.
42, I thought it was 30. Okay, 42
It
now.
went up.
Okay, so 42 is what section now? It's just
From International to just south of University, the north
on,
end.
on
Why do we
frontage
only ask
roads.
for 42?
It's for the frontage roads, it's to
For
be able
both-
to
on
be able
both
to build
sides,
the
yeah.
entire project, frontage roads, main lanes, bridges, from International to just south of
Okay.
University. That
Okay.
including the funding that we already have available for the bridges, the portions that everybody has contributed, and then
Okay.
just filling the gap to be able
So
to
hopefully,
complete that project.
once we get this infra grant, that should cover that, right? If we do get it. If we don't, then that's.
We
plan-
have funding that
We
we're
have
placing
the
into that to
funding
be
that
able
we
to
are
move forward.
approving today.
$43 million.
That will take the place of the infra grant. The infra grant will just allow us, if we are fortunate enough to receive the infra funds, that'll be fortunate enough for us to release these funds that we're talking about today into other priority projects.
Okay,
here
so
at
it's
the MPO.
assured, in other words, one way or the other, we don't get the infra grant, you're
Correct.
saying
That's
you're
We
putting the
move
money
forward
in?
with the project.
Wow.
That's correct.
I thought we were asking for the whole 110.
No, remember that we can't, within the infra grant parameters, we have to actually let the project 18 months after award. And we can't commit that to the airport Jackman area because of the right of way
Yeah, I remember
acquisition.
that. I'm sorry.
That's why we ended it just south of University.
Okay, I remember.
Do we
Yeah,
have the
okay.
Fonzie on this, and
I'm sorry?
when are we gonna get the Fonzie? You already went out for the Fonzie?
Environmental-
It's done, I think, if we're
We
applying
have another
funds.
person, Mike Graham, our environmental coordinator, can give us an
But the
update on
Ponzi
that.
is on Delmar and the airport portion, correct?
I'm Mike Graham, I'm the environmental coordinator and the environmental manager for this project. Where we're at is we're the last phase of the environmental that actually requires approval by another entity is the parklands impacts. We have recently had our right-of-way folks arrange for
Hold
the
on,
appraiser.
Parkland is what now, the Lake Casablanca?
That would be the golf course and the state park that the county actually owns.
Okay, so we're talking that portion now from
Well,
Delmar to airport.
We're environmentally clearing the entire corridor. We did not segment the clearance on this because of, you know, that was a decision that was made 7 or 8 years ago
So,
now.
okay, hold your thought. So in essence, without your report, we can't proceed on this other,
But the-
on Shiloh and all the others?
Yes, sir, but the good news is that we are finally making headway on the parklands, the appraisal that's required to get the clearance.
So you don't
on
foresee
that.
an issue or
I
further
believe we're
extensions?
okay on this. I'm gonna give you that caveat because
How long
I've
have we
been
been
here
waiting for,
before.
how long have we been waiting for the funding?
Several
7
years,
years?
sir. Yes, sir. Well, I've been waiting. There's been a variety of reasons that you're well aware of why the schematic has taken an extra 3 years. If the schematic would have flowed on a normal schedule, we would have been at the clearance about 2 years ago.
Does that mean it's due to the schematics then? You're saying?
Trying to remember what I'm aware of.
The-
Yeah.
Okay.
It was just the management of the schematic phase was put the whole project behind.
I think
The
the
environmental
current
clearance.
situation that we're at right now, I don't think we need to go back and discuss that. I think for whatever reason it is, you know, we're at where we're at right now, we're moving forward.
We are moving forward.
Expeditions, you know, this is a high priority for us, and I don't believe we need to
Okay.
discuss it.
Is there any reasonable expectation, though, that the schematic will be forthcoming in light of the parkland complications?
Yeah, no, the footprint has been settled now for several months. And that allowed us to have the surveyors go in, get the meets and bounds, which is part of the appraisal process. We had to have the meets and bounds for each of those parcels, including the parkland. And that's what has been the first priority on all of that work there. So, if we stay on schedule later this year, we should have the FONSI. That's the best I can tell you right now.
Can it be severed if you have a problem? No. So we're held hostage now.
We're gonna environmentally clear the entire corridor.
5 months, 6 months, what do you think? What's the projection, I'm sorry?
The end of this year, sir. That's the best I can give you right now.
Okay.
If things keep
So the assumption
progressing.
is good, we have the funds in every respect, we don't get, you know, that's good news, we don't get the infra grant, it's covered, okay. And can we, if we do get the infra grant, can we then apply this money to the balance?
The next
Correct.
phase, the next.
We'll move it to the south.
Okay, which is good news too, yeah. And that's almost guaranteed, can you all guarantee that for us?
The infra grant or the 43?
No,
No, that's
moving-
MPO.
Oh, absolutely. We'll have to come back to the MPO and we'll have to vote on where we're gonna take this $43 million.
And we should be done with
We can't
Loop
guarantee
20
that.
through 59, correct?
My question, Mayor.
Yes, sir, go ahead.
So if we have, these 43 million that we're allocating towards this project, and we do actually obtain the grant, is there some way of, in this motion, trying to allocate those funds for the south? So that we have the 43 million, and we continue to funnel those funds, the 43 million that you guys are willing to put in for this project, to make this whole project one priority. So if we get the infra, can we slide it over to the south and then continue? Because that would put us, really.
Very close.
Very close, over 2/3 of the way done.
Is that, you know, can we, yeah, Commissioner Guerrero, do you want to amend your motion?
All I wanted,
To slide it, if we get the grant, to slide that.
oh, you wanna do it now? I guess we could.
Yeah, no, pues, you might as well.
I mean, this is a
Good
big
point.
priority for us. This is something that we've been waiting, seems like 15 years on. If we have some funding that seems to be available for the north section, if we do get that grant, could we just slide that money to the south in one fell swoop and just actually get it done?
Yeah, and I see two nods, David, you're okay, and Melissa? you're
That would be fine, Councilman. If that's where the MPO wants to place those additional $43 million, that'd be fine. If at a later date you have another priority project that you feel is more important at that time, then, I mean, that can be changed, but if you feel that
yeah, we
that's
need to
the
get done
priority
with it
right
before.
now, yeah, you're more
I
than
don't remember
welcome
what
to
the
make that
original
motion.
motion was, but.
To
Anymore.
approve, I think.
We would
You wanna-
definitely support that as text.
Okay, yeah.
I wanna amend my motion to add that in the event of the, is it EFRA grant?
Infra.
Infra.
INFRA, infra.
Infra grant is approved for us, then we'll use that 43 million on the southern portion.
Correct, and keep in mind
Allocated to the
that for
southern.
this
For
motion,
the
you also,
frontage
you are
roads.
approving the 4 CSJs. That includes all the way
You
south,
already have
so
it.
the movement can.
Oh, so it's already there.
it's kind of for the whole
You
project.
got, well, then it's already there, though.
That's right. So that's why we're approving the 4 CSJ, so.
But I think it's good to clarify, it,
Right.
like,
I think it's
like
important to
Councilman
clarify.
and
Make sure
and
it's clear.
Commissioner are saying.
Okay, so, yeah, go ahead.
Vanessa, you got the motion?
Got it.
Okay,
I'll amend the second.
Tell me what I said.
okay, as amended, but I think it,
Okay.
basically, the funds were now, the mentioning will cover basically
So we're
everything through.
missing, what,
If we get the effort grant, but I think we've discussed it.
67 million to complete the project?
No, it'd be less than that. It'd be,
Well, we needed 110, we got 43.
107,
Oh.
43, but plus the extra, the infra.
Hold on, I'm saying if we don't
So
get the
it's
infra.
80, so
If we
that's
don't get the
20.
infra,
If we don't get the info, we're 60-something million.
yeah, and if we get the infra, then we're 25 million short.
About 20 something. Perfect.
All right, then my last question, ballpark,
Okay,
guess,
let me,
guess best estimate. When would the construction be completed? If we started in 2022?
22.
oh, it's gonna take 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, a project of this magnitude with 5 interchanges and frontage roads, if we're looking to let it as one big project, which is a plus for us, you're looking at no less than 2 years, maybe 36 months for a completion project this size.
Oh, you're looking at more than that.
Yeah.
For 5 bridges and that length,
If
I'd
it's
take,
one
I'd
big
take,
leg.
No, it's only 3.
well, see, if you're doing
And
the north
there's-
segment, it'd be about, I'd say 2.5 to 3 years.
Hold on, and then there's other issues that we're looking at. If we're gonna let it as one big project, there's also incentives that we can put in the contract to expedite the construction of it, milestones, numerous things that we can do to make sure we expedite and get it done, where we pay them on performance of this project.
You know, with A plus B bidding would probably be a
That's another
contractor.
option that we
would-
can utilize as well.
And the great thing about a project of this magnitude is that a contractor would have the flexibility to propose accelerated construction type mechanisms, knowing that the traffic on Loop 20 is crucial to the economy and to the residences of Laredo. So it would kind of leave it open for a contractor to even propose what they feel will speed up the construction.
Okay, I'm gonna call for the question, okay, all those in favor say aye?
Aye.
All those against? None heard, motion carries unanimously, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, moving on to, it's a motion to allocate, no, that's, G, a discussion with possible action on that section of IH 35 between Milo Interchange and Shallow Drive regarding issues pertaining to access by adjoining landowners and frontage roads. Yeah, in the past, I've been getting some phone calls, by some of the landowners as to how best they can access, that, IH 35, and I don't really have an answer for them, and I was hoping maybe you all could show the public as to how, what that plan consists of, TxDOT, David?
Yeah, what we've done just last week, Mayor, at your request, is we've had several meetings with several landowners. Mr. Montalban was present at those meetings. I happened to be in a couple of meetings myself, but we were able to explain the entire process. The main concern was the access to the properties during construction and then after construction. I think for the most part, they were very helpful meetings. Everything was very much pleased. We do have a presentation by Mr. Luis Villarreal that was briefly showed you what the outcome of some of these
And I think it impacts your district, and I think maybe, Vilmas as well.
I don't think
No?
Villalba, but it is.
Right, okay.
Yes, sir.
So, yes, go ahead, please.
Martinez.
Take a little while.
Good afternoon, Honorable Mayor, Honorable Judge, and members of the Commission. Luis Villarreal, TxDOT Project Manager. As you know, TxDOT is moving forward with improvements to I-35 to increase capacity along this corridor from mile marker 6 all the way to mile marker 30. In the immediate, we have a project which we call Segment 1, which would take us from Shiloh Drive, basically, all the way to the interchange, what we call the Milo interchange. So at present, we can see that the main objective of this project is to grade separate IH-35 for where we have the UP Railroad bridge. So At this point, as you can see, we have the railroad UPRR, which currently crosses at this point with I-35. We have the existing condition of a highway underpass. So because of the movements with improved safety, so now the department is looking at grade separating. So now we will be going over the railroad bridge. At present, with this particular project, which is what we're calling the interim condition, we will not have any right-of-way, proposed right-of-way associated with this project. However, we are coordinating with all the existing, with all the property owners that require access onto the frontage road. So it's been a little bit of an exhausting effort, but we have been reaching out to all the developers. And so from the southern end, we've been coordinating with developers in this area. As you can see, you have Shiloh. And I can try to zoom in a little bit more. Mr. Roberto, go here. Yeah. So you can see Shiloh Drive, and north is to the right of the screen. And so we can see we have some development occurring here. So right now we're evaluating all the existing access. So as we come in with the frontage road, obviously our high priority is safety. So we have been reaching out. Just recently, March 7th, we had a schedule of, what we call MPO meetings with affected property owners as it relates to access to and from their property in relation to this project. So as well as this area on the west side, on the east side, on the southern side of the project, as well as to the area north of the railroad on the west side by in the vicinity of San Mateo Drive. So we are going to provide access at every phase of the construction. So obviously there will be no one that will be landlocked. But as I say, at the present time, there is no proposed right-of-way that will be associated with this project. This project is scheduled to let December 2019, which is a rather aggressive schedule, but we are coordinating intensely with Union Pacific Railroad. So that is the current status of this project. Any questions?
So you're gonna,
Yes.
you're just gonna duplicate the actual existing right of way, but you're gonna go over the railroad instead of under it?
Correct. We're
I always
taking
thought
it.
they were gonna straighten it
Yeah,
out.
we're taking it from under the railroad, now go above the railroad bridge.
Yeah, but the key, and I think people need to understand that, and you've been meeting with the adjoining landowners
Yes, we have.
that they won't have direct access at that section. They would have to go all the way to Shiloh, is it? And how do they?
There's no access there anyway, right now.
The access has really changed.
Yeah, the
No,
access.
is it, yeah, just as long as the landowners are okay, yeah, I'm fine.
Correct, yes.
Okay.
And it's a continued effort. So we will be meeting in the coming weeks, next week and the following week. We will be having design reviews, and the department has, we're coordinating with the construction office, our area office, to ensure that we have the right traffic control in place for minimal impact.
The key here is you're making direct contact. We hate for down the road saying, we never got notice, or
Right.
or we weren't aware.
Right.
Luis, you can, these are one-on-one meetings,
that-
Mayor, that we are
that's fair
having with
enough.
the landowners.
Right.
We covered this a while back
Yes,
with
sir.
regard to the landowners that are to the west of I-35.
Correct.
And we're not, there was one driveway that was contemplated being affected, but they had an alternate way to get in and out, or what was the end result of those discussions?
We have actually clarified, and we're allowing access into that driveway. Luis, if you want to pull.
scroll over, Luis?
If you could point at that with your cursor, Luis.
Yes.
That's at San Mateo.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's right. Sure.
Yeah, so we,
That's not closed. We're not gonna close it.
It will remain
Okay.
open during construction.
gotcha.
Okay, now you say during construction, after construction?
After construction, as you can see, the way it's delineated and highlighted in blue, that will be the access
Okay.
in and out of San Mateo. So
Post
currently you have
construction.
a two-way in this area on the west frontage. Because of the nature and design of the project, now you will have a one-way. So you'll have this turnaround that we're introducing, which is not non-existent right now.
Mhm.
But with this project, what you see in cyan will now allow for circulation. So the access pattern will be rather different, but we will preserve the existing access.
Okay, great.
And Luis, can you go over to the ultimate configuration and the right of way it's required there at San Mateo, just so we're
Yes.
transparent and we know, let everybody know about the ultimate configuration,
Hey, real
what's
quick,
needed.
hold on, while we're still on the slide, if you'll indulge me, on San Isidro Avenue, are we gonna finally connect that across I-35? Is
Yes,
that
would
what we're
you-
seeing?
Yeah, what you see here is, yes, you'll have access, okay, existing access, if you're going northbound, you have this off-ramp,
Mm-hmm.
just like it is right now, it'll lead you to eastbound San Isidro Boulevard, and then you'll have a connection going west under this overpass, and you'll have access towards southbound 35.
Great.
Yeah, but we don't show it here, do we?
Yes, so existing, and I'll try my best with my cursor here, so you'll see that it'll take you toward eastbound, toward McPherson, Doctor's Hospital area, but also you can go westbound, and this will take you under the proposed structure,
Okay.
and then ultimately to southbound 35 onto Shiloh.
Okay, any other questions?
So with regard to this is what we're calling the interim condition.
And then that large structure there, what is that?
And then black.
Yeah.
Right here. So this is one of the site plans that we're currently receiving from different landowners, and this is what we encourage as the master plans present themselves. We're asking the developers to help us out and submit their electronic graphic files. That way, our engineer, who is Walter P. Moore, our consultant, can bring these in graphically, and we can better evaluate access. So this is one of the examples where we're able to bring the site plan and see how it fits into the overall footprint of the project.
Huh?
Yes,
Is it Papadou?
this is the proposed office development.
Oh, you had this.
How quickly can we get it?
They own that property for quite some time.
Yeah. So this is one of the developments that we have there, and there's others, so we're trying our best, and this would be the great time, if you're aware of any other developers that are coming in, we want to make sure and account for them, so that way we can address all the access. And as you know, we're coming in pretty quickly for letting on this, so the sooner we know, the better. And so that way we can make provisions during traffic control.
Any other questions?
Right.
That's fine, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, so as Ms. Montemayor was mentioning, ultimately, and this may be a mid or long-range plan, we're looking at, along with the main lane bridge section that we're going to have, we're looking at frontage roads, as you can see. Just bear with me. Our main lane structure that will take us over the railroad, if you can follow with my hand here, the cursor, this takes you northbound, this takes you southbound. So as you can see further on the west, you'll see an accompanying bridge, a frontage road that will take you over the railroad as well. So not only do we have it on the west side, but we propose to have it on the east side. Yeah, okay.
Oh, that's really gonna improve the connectability between them. So now that, San
So this
Isidro
will-
Boulevard, where everybody wrecks.
This will allow for continuous connectivity, and that's one of the main goals of the commission, which is connectivity and reducing congestion. So we're helping meet one of those goals. So when we get into this phase, when this happens, then we're gonna require some additional right-of-way. So we are in parallel working on those efforts with developers and letting them know beforehand. And we were able to, like I said, in the interim condition, have the minimal impact. And so it is in the ultimate condition that will require some additional right-of-way. So where will that occur?
Yes,
That additional right-of-way would occur in the San Mateo area.
Yeah, there's an additional question here, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, sir.
Additional, I guess you were about to answer, forgive me for interrupting you.
No problem.
Is to the west side, not to the east side?
It will be taking on the east as well as on the west.
So I know that there's a lot of development that's gonna be coming,
Okay.
in the east side. I know that they're starting the plating process on, right there where San Isidro is, but a little.
This area?
Yeah. On the south side of the road,
On the
all
side,
that
okay.
area, yeah. And
Yes.
so, they're already working on that, so you guys might wanna get with them quite quickly to let
Okay.
them know, because they're already starting to build homes there.
If there's a contact name and number, I'd be more than happy to reach out to them. And what would be most beneficial is bringing in that graphic file, and so we can evaluate it.
Which is the kind of, the right-of-way line? What color?
So the proposed right-of-way line, yeah. Here's where we have the proposed right-of-way line.
An existing
Existing
right-of-way
is,
line?
if you can see that black arrow pointing
Yes.
to the right, okay, there's a dotted,
Dotted line, okay.
Yeah, so-
So that's approximately how many feet?
I think it was approximately like 20, 30 feet offset.
But that's into, let me zoom out a little bit.
Sure.
Where's San Isidro Boulevard?
San Isidro Boulevard is right.
Mr. Villarreal, when
Okay.
you have the proposed access denial, is there currently access there? On the bottom?
As it reflects, we're talking about south of the railroad in this area? Yeah. Currently, there is, to my knowledge, there is not an existing access point. Right. And where there is, and we have denial of access, we're working that out with the developer to provide alternatives for them. So in some cases, we're looking at the potential for joint use, realignment of the driveway, just to make sure we can ensure access for them.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, any other comment or question? If not, thank you, so, yeah, the key is to
Thank you very
keep,
much. Thank you, Luis. Yes, sir.
keep, in communication with the landowners,
Yes, we
which
sure
I think you all are doing, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
When is this project lit?
The interim condition, which is the previous one that I showed you, is going to let in December 19th. No, we have to call this year.
Okay, and this is all, obviously it's funded, it's,
This is funded, and this will be coupled with the direct connector number 5, which takes you westbound, Loop 20 to southbound 35.
okay, it's wonderful, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Do you have a call for this question?
I'm
This
sorry?
question?
What's that, action?
Yes. Is it action?
Do we need action?
It was a landowner communication, Mayor.
It says discussion with possible action, I don't know.
Yeah, do we need it? Yeah, it's just,
I don't have anything.
okay. No, unless you can think of something, no, okay, thank you. Yeah, next item is H. Discussion with possible action on lighting on Cuatro Vientos Road. Anyone to speak on that?
This is
Do we have traffic?
Councilman Ongil's item, I guess, of traffic.
Yeah, as we know, and I think there's been some accidents in the south, and I know we discussed it at council level.
Yeah, our colleagues from districts 1 and 2 have requested that there be some improvements to the lighting along that section of Cuatro Vientos, and you'd be able to come up with some solutions.
Good afternoon, Robert Bay with Traffic Department. Yes, we've been in communication with TxDOT. The lighting that exists on Cuatro Vientos is safety lighting, and I understand there's a process to pursue continuous lighting. And that's negotiating with TxDOT to pursue something like that.
Okay, so TxDOT is here. Can we hear from TxDOT?
Mayor, we have Danny McGee, our Director of Traffic Operations. He's gonna enlighten us on the,
Thank you.
That road is dark.
It is dangerous.
Good afternoon.
Hi, welcome.
Again, Director of TxDOT Traffic. There is a mechanisms for lighting to be installed in Cuatro Vientos. However, it would have to require a study to show that any lighting would substantially improve the safety of that piece of road. As far as I know, there has not been a problem with accidents at night. We did have an accident problem a few years ago at intersections, and we closed those down. As far as I know, that situation cleared
Yeah,
up.
excuse me, we had a series of at least 2 or 3 within a short time period, within the last year, a year and a half, do you think?
Yeah,
For some reason,
the ones I know of are all happening in the daytime.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. We can go back and look at our accident reports, but have you looked at any?
Are there national studies that show that if there's lighting, there's less accidents?
We do have, we have warrants for lighting, and they come from the AASHTO
lighting manual, but they've only been established for freeways. Typically, even though there's a mechanism to do lighting on arterial highways like this that aren't access controlled, we haven't done any. They're few and far between. But there is a mechanism. However, there'll have to be a study done to show that we can lower the accident rate. But since I haven't seen any pattern of accidents at night, we can look into it, but we'll report back on that.
Well, let me ask you this, if it's not a lighting issue, then is there a pattern? Can we establish a pattern that there's a safety issue there that needs to be corrected? And if it does, how do we correct it?
Well, I don't know if you recall, a few years ago, there were several accidents that happened in intersections. There was several people trying to get across, and we closed those intersections. As far as, I've been monitoring it, and there's been a few isolated accidents because people just not paying attention, that kind of thing. But there hasn't been a pattern like there was.
Okay.
I live in that area, and I look out for it. So I look to skid marks every time I drive through there and see what kind of accidents. And as soon as I see an accident, I'll go ask the police or get the report and see what caused it, just so we can do something about it.
Mayor?
Yes, sir, go
I
ahead.
don't know what it is. I've driven that road, infrequently, but it's got a different feel to it. I mean, it's just, something about the markings or something, especially at night, it feels very uncomfortable to drive. I know I've done it several times, one to Jesse's place, to Commissioner Gonzalez's location over there, and it doesn't feel like a regular freeway section, or even a 1432 or anything. I think has much better markings and things than that does.
We can always do that. We can try and improve the markings and put more RPMs, the reflectors on the road, but we'll see. Like I said, I'll go back. I haven't pulled the accidents based on the light time only. We just looked at them in general, no matter what time of day they happen, but we can pull the ones just for night and see if there is a pattern. But as far as I know, I haven't seen one.
It has a different feel to it. I can't tell you what it is, but it has a weird feel to it.
About a year ago, we met with the police department, and they were talking about the speed was too high. So we went out there and installed those radar signs that want to tell you your speed is, that kind of thing. I don't know if it's been effective or not, but so we worked with the police to try and get the accidents down. We haven't sat back and just said, that we're not going to look at that road anymore.
So do you have any data at all that, to present to us today on number of accidents that have taken place in the evening?
No, I don't.
And is that because the data doesn't exist, or because you haven't looked for the data?
I look at the accidents in general. I mean, all the accidents, and compared to what they were a few years ago, there's hardly been any accidents compared to where they were.
I mean, you can't there were, 16 accidents in 2017 and 2018. Since we closed those intersections, there's only been 7. Like, we have any sort of,
I can come back with those. I mean, all the accidents segregated by type of accident, by when they happened, and that kind of thing.
Can you bring that back to us, please, for the next MPO meeting, so that we can at least, so when we report back to our colleagues in the south, we can at least have something meaningful to tell them as to why TxDOT has determined that this situation does not merit additional lighting.
Okay.
Or in the alternative, that you did the homework and that in fact it does, and this is what you're gonna do to address the safety concerns.
Okay, well, now we're talking two different things. Can I bring that up if you don't mind?
Sure.
We're talking two different things. If I see a problem that's caused by lack of lighting because it's a safety concern, I will go out there and put those. I would have already. We've already done flashing beacons, that kind of thing. What you're asking for is continuous lighting. That's a whole different animal. On that one, the safety lighting, I'll go out and install it and pay for it, et cetera. Continuous lighting, if you want point A to point B lit at night, the city will have to participate financially. We have two kinds of contracts for that. We're not allowed to just go out and put continuous lighting unless
Why would the city have to participate?
That's just the way our policies are set up. It's actually, it's in the Texas Administrative Code. In there, it tells us what we're allowed to do.
No,
Safety lighting or continuous lighting.
TxDOT on-system facility.
Yeah, what I was gonna suggest is, let him come back next time and he can present alternatives, and then we can, find other ways or whatever.
You did offer more markings, though.
Yeah, we'll take more markings.
Just to show you how things work, I don't know if you've seen the high mass lighting we have up and down 35? The ones that are 150 feet high?
Yes, sir.
Okay, the city participates. They pay for electricity every month and the operation and maintenance. We installed those many, many years ago. We have two kinds of contract. The 50-50 agreement with 100%. 100%, we install and pay for it all, and the city maintains it forever. The other one is we pay half and you pay half, and then after that, we all pay half the electricity costs.
Just going back to Commissioner Galo's observation that it feels different. I mean, it does feel different because of the rural nature of the road and some of the hydrology and the wildlife corridors that follow that. Just, it makes it such a, it's a type of road that's heads up. I mean, there's going to be critters crossing through there, especially in the evening, and animals crossing the roads is a frequent cause of accidents, statewide, and it seems like it would be the type of safety concern that TxDOT could proactively address by having it lit throughout the corridor based on a safety algorithm as opposed to a continuing.
And I've done that. For the kind of accidents we've had, we close those crossings, and you can go back to 3 years that we've done it. There hasn't been a single type of fatality where people are trying to cross over.
So Danny, let me clarify this just so everybody's on the same page. So, you travel interstate from here to San Antonio, you have the small communities where they have continuous lighting on the freeway. Those situations, based on what we can do according to the MUTCD manual, falls upon the responsibility of the local entity.
Right.
So at this point, if the city of Laredo wanted to put continuous lighting on Cuatro Vientos, what would be the process for them to begin that?
Well, like I said, the very first thing they do is a study to show that the lighting is going to improve safety.
Okay.
If there's been no accidents, then how can we improve safety that way? So that's the first thing. We need to show that there's a lot of pattern of accidents.
But isn't that just a foregone conclusion? That a highway illuminated at night, just like fire burns, makes a roadway safer?
Well, it's like I said earlier, we're only allowed to put continuous lighting in certain situations, and it's always with the financial participation of the local government, always.
But y'all would put in the hardware and we would maintain it and pay
You have to pick one of the two lighting agreements, where we go 50-50 or 100%. We build it and then you maintain it.
What about some of the areas, like, I think it's around Warnser or behind LBJ?
No.
It seems kind of confusing because there's sections of it that are under construction, like future connectivity, and then you have the U-turn. So I think there we need more of the signage that Commissioner Galo was talking about, or lighting at those points so that those are the choke points where people.
When it's a spot location like that, like you're talking about, if it's an intersection and I see accidents happening at night, I'll go out there and do that myself. I don't even have to ask anybody for money. We'll do that. Because it said there's an accident and we can address it by putting illumination, we'll do that.
Let's clarify that's an intersection, flashing beacon.
It's a spot. If it's a spot.
But it's not continuous lighting.
I can do that.
Okay, but do we have to wait for an accident? I mean, we kind of sense that, that it's, we all kind of sense it.
We do. If you look at all the interchanges we have up and down 35, if you go look at them, Cotula and Encinal, you'll see that we put underpass lighting. We put lighting at the ramps. We put them at locations where there's a decision needs to be made by the driver. So we do that. If you're coming on 83 from Botines and stuff, there's a lot of lighting there. We installed lighting a few years ago on that big curve as you come onto the railroad. We tried different things. We ended up putting lighting the whole way through it. We classified that as safety lighting. Even though there's like 10 lighting poles through there, we classified it as safety lighting because we're addressing the accidents that were happening there. So there are certain situations that traffic signals, we go out, put traffic signal, right away we put illumination. Those are recognized preemptory type of measures. So we do that.
Okay, so you can evaluate that and see if it's preemptory, that we can do that.
But beyond those typical applications, then we only do it when there's accidents that we've observed. Or if somebody complains, I'm almost being hit all the time, then we'll go out and look at it. If we agree, we'll do that.
That's fine. I think we need to move on, if you don't mind. I think you have enough flavor and information here as to what we're basically asking. So in other words, come back with alternatives, and based on what you heard, and for the next MPO meeting, if you don't mind.
And then, I'm sorry, excuse me.
And then I guess to our city traffic department, maybe y'all could just, observe as well, because I talked to a lot of the folks in the cycling community. They complain about all the broken glass and reflective material all up and down that section of the road. And so, I mean, stuff isn't just magically falling out of the sky. It's there because, accidents and fender benders, et cetera. And so if we could just maybe take our data to cross-check it with your data and come up with some sort of proactive safety approach to that otherwise very dark rural road. And then tell us what your findings are at the next MPO meeting, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, good suggestion, thank you. Okay, yeah, moving on. Discussion with possible action on the proposed Mine Road bike track. Do we have anyone?
I don't have anything.
Thanks, Doc.
Usually- And I'll call on Commissioner Algate or Councilmember Algate.
No, I mean, we asked TxDOT to come forward with a proposal on how to take that little section of that right-of-way that's not in use to be temporarily used for purposes of a bicycle, a shaded bicycle and pedestrian facility. Anybody? Shaded.
What item is this?
I'm sorry, it says I don't have my reading list.
Item
It's
I.
Can we be ready for next go-round?
I'm not sure what we're asking for on this, Mayor.
Okay, yeah, maybe this came about a little bit prior to your onboarding with us, but just to be clear, this is that section of Mines Road that goes from the overpass that goes over I-35 and the railroads, and it tracks along that western edge going all the way through to the I-69 Loop 20 bridge over Mines Road. There's this very wide swath of right-of-way that TxDOT has not indicated it being used for anything. And currently, it would make for a great alternative or active transit type facility because there are a lot of folks that are having to get out onto the sidewalk or out onto the edge of Mines Road that can make use of that facility. And so the question has remained whether TxDOT can make that available for use.
The right way?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you might as well read the next item too.
Can you, I'm sorry?
There's two more items I can see. Might as
Oh,
well do
yeah.
something.
Yeah, the judge is suggesting that we take the other items as well, J and K.
Bike
Yeah,
paths.
so moved.
Bike path.
Okay, there's a motion to bring up J and K as well, discussion, none heard, those in favor say aye. None
Aye.
heard, motion carries, yes, go ahead, vote J and K. You wanna address those two?
Yeah, so with regard to the pedestrian bicycle facility regarding Loop 20 and the intersection of Del Mar, there, and I know I'm a little bit outside of my jurisdiction, Sheriff, but there are a lot of kids that make the crossing on foot from the Alexander High School 9th grade campus to get to the Alexander main campus. And they're having to play Frogger across Loop 20. And it would make sense that incorporated into the final design of those overpasses and access roads that there's a robust pedestrian and bicycle facility to get people to and from both sides of Loop 20, but also in the interim, because they're crossing anyway, just like the folks are riding that Mines Road right-of-way on their bikes and they're hiking it anyway. It would make sense that in the interim that we have some sort of robust crossing system so that it's not so dangerous. And so,
May I add a little bit?
yes, sir.
Not only do I think you need to make a crossing there, but I also think that there needs to be maybe a reduction of speed.
Yep.
As you're going northbound. That's where my son had the major accident.
Yep.
And at nighttime especially, because it has that little uphill kind of coming up, people that are going from southbound turning left towards, let's say, the church, the extension of Del Mar Boulevard, one of the number one reasons is because a lot of people, I guess, regardless of, my son was 16 or 17 at the time, UB, but the point is that it's I think 65 miles an hour right at that area, and maybe that needs to be a reduced speed a little bit because it's too much, it's too fast, and it's hard for them to stop. And so that's something else that they need to look into.
Yeah, no, that's a great observation that, you know, and the city, by the way, we just, adopted, Vision Zero, to eliminate, traffic deaths, in the city of Laredo, and hopefully here this MPO eventually will as well adopt the same thing. And a big part of that, of getting to that is, you gotta reduce speed. Speed is the killer. And so, we've got, you know, all these bright kids going back and forth at this intersection in particular, who deserve to get home to their families at the end of the day. And then as it relates to agenda item, K, you have, a large number of pedestrians and cyclists who, go underneath I-35 and cross the access roads, there on east and west of I-35 to get onto Del Mar. You know, same issue, a little different demographic, but same issue. Those access roads are, don't have any real meaningful crosswalk infrastructure, pedestrian islands, speed mitigation control measures. It's just, you know, it's Frogger all over again. And so as it relates to agenda items I, J, and K, I would move that TxDOT come back to us at the next MPO meeting with proposed solutions to these three issues and cost estimates and funding sources.
Okay, there's a motion, is there a second?
I'll second that.
There's a second discussion? Not heard?
I'm sorry,
Go
is
ahead.
it possible to have a, what's it called, decelerating lane to turn to the church if you're coming from the south, to turn to the iglesia or to the Alexandria?
Going east on Del Mar.
Anything is possible. I guess my question is, where are we in this as far as designing or preparing anything for this? So is this something that the MPO is wishing the TxDOT to solely look at? I can tell you right now, right off the agenda item I, agenda item K, a bike lane under an Interstate 35, a bike lane on Mines Road with 40% trucks. And I think a previous study that
Not
was
on
done.
Mines Road. It's off on the right of way, off to the side, about 20 feet off to the side.
Off to the
west.
side with driveways, heavy truck traffic, 40% trucks. 16%? 60% trucks. That is not a priority for TxDOT to put a bike lane out there. I'll be very brutally honest with you. I said that's not something that we would entertain. Under Del Mar on 35, crossing underneath the interstate with a bike path is something that I would probably shy away with based on the safety and the party of bicyclists out there on the interstate crossing. Again, I think there was a TTI study that was done before my time that will highlight those points.
Yeah, but MPOs are doing this all over the state. It's less, I mean, just because we're out on the frontier doesn't mean we're some sort of outpost banished to the, you know, afterthought of whatever TxDOT decides is a priority. I mean, this MPO gets to set its own priorities, and so if as a body collectively we're saying, hey, TxDOT, why don't you consider alternative and active types of transportation so that people can do what they're doing anyway in a more safe way? Well, then that should, you know, that should become a priority for TxDOT. And if you're saying that it's not a priority, you know, that's cool. I mean, we can, you know, run things up other flagpoles so that we do get the necessary attention. But these are our kids. These are even members in our elderly community that are having to schlep up and down these dangerous streets because for years we've just been this afterthought that TxDOT has occasionally paid attention to by shuffling and reshuffling employees from other districts down here. And so hopefully it'll become a priority for you. And if it doesn't, I mean, yeah, I mean, now's a good time to reinforce that it's not.
I think what we're trying to say is that even though that we understand that TxDOT may be looking at bigger projects, if you will, that or even projects that have more of a direct line or that don't have these particular variables because you know it may not be in line with the use of, let's say, Mines Road. We see the situation as it truly is right now, which is There are patterns of people traveling through these intersections continuously, and we see the safety hazard in it. And so, are there out-of-the-box ways where you guys could help us or facilitate some of these things? And collaborating, maybe we can come up with a solution. It's always best to collaborate, I think, instead of just saying, hey, it's a hard no, right? And so that's kind of where we're going with this is we have a safety concern, and the MPO we think is a perfect vehicle for trying to figure out how we marry this safety issue with the roads that we're constructing right now. And so just a thought for you.
Yeah,
Is it
along those
possible
lines.
to-
I'm
I'm
sorry,
sorry.
go ahead.
To, I don't know, that safe school passage, would that be a priority if we do that? Because I know that the school, I used to take my kids to the Iglesia Misericordia School. That one's growing. I think they're building a new campus as well. They're adding more. And then we have the Alexander. So obviously, it's a passage for school. And so that's why I was mentioning before that without the deceleration, you have to go like to the speed that everybody's coming and then turn, make a right turn right away. So there's other things that somebody was mentioning about decreasing from a section before and the way that we could have an island or something, because it should be a safe passage for
maybe a
school.
bridge,
So we can certainly look
pedestrian
at,
bridge or bicycle bridge
the
of some sort.
situation, Ms. Velma, and I appreciate that at the intersection of Delmar. But we do have the data and the information as far as the bike route that's gonna go underneath 35 that we can bring. And while we will certainly support any direction that the MPO decides to vote on a situation like this, on a bike route, on something where I really feel strongly against because of the safety concern, and I know it's our children and the elderly, putting them out there in situations where you have large amount of truck traffic is not something that I will feel comfortable with. At that point, we will consider alternatives. If the city would like to come to us with, hey, this is what we want to try, we'd be certainly happy to look at.
The thing is, sir, with all due respect, it's already happening. In other words, the traffic is already there, right? The trucks are there and the bicycles are there already. It's not like we're wanting to put bicycles there. Bicycles are already there. There are people, if you go down the road, you'll see them traveling, people are walking, people are traveling. We're just trying to find a safer alternative for them to do that.
Danny, do we have data on that, Danny, at all?
I mean, you can pull up.
If I may, why don't you just do a bridge crossing, a pedestrian bridge crossing like most cities do anyway?
Well, a pedestrian crossing is a little bit different than a true bike route that we're
He's talking about
here.
the bike trail along
Right,
Lanes Road.
that's completely different than a
I'm
crossing
not
over.
really getting into the bike, I'm
think,
more
It's
the
two different
priority of.
items.
Can we let Mr. McGee shed some
What I was
light?
gonna offer is, give me a chance to put a camera out there, let's count how many pedestrians we're actually talking about. Sometimes perception
Well, it's more pedestrian and bike.
bicycle, I count cars, bicycles, everything going through there and see, we do have crossings already at Del Mar and Loop 20, for both sections. And if we need to beef them up somehow, more signs, more lighting, we can do that. But let's count and see how many pedestrians we're actually talking about, pedestrians and bicyclists. And then we can get back to you by the
And you
next
can
one.
look at the Strava heat map right now online, and you can see, a white hot line that goes, up Santa Maria and goes underneath I-35. You can follow that line. It kind of starts fading into, yellow hot as it goes, northwest up along the far western extreme of the Mines Road right of way. That's data that's already available to you as well. And then, consistent with the motion that was made, you can do all those things and hopefully come back to us with
We
some.
maintain the signal at I-35 in Del Mar, so we'll look at that one, make sure that pedestrian time crossing. Bicyclists, they can walk their bikes to the intersection, make sure we have enough time. Or if they're gonna ride it, they need to ride just like every other car does. They have to follow the same rules of the road. But we'll work with the city, because they maintain
You
the
can't
one.
put bikes on the road at that intersection.
No, I understand, I'm saying, but if they choose to, right, I'll hope that they get down and walk their.
Yeah, get
their
onto
bike.
the sidewalk and
Right.
get going.
And we'll accommodate that.
There's no sidewalk.
But the city maintains the
Well, yeah.
signal, Route 20 and Del Mar. So we'll work with them, make sure they have enough pedestrian crossing and that the markings and signs are all up to
And and just for, if you need some additional direction, the folks at LNV gave us a quote, a very loose quote, to beef up that intersection specifically. And it was Del Mar and the access roads and I-35, and it was north of $100,000 just to have in the proper you know, NASHTO, ACTO, I forget the acronym, crossings for pedestrians and bicyclists. And they identified it as, yeah, this is right for that. Albeit taken with a grain of salt, engineers like to, you know, ensure the longevity of their professions, but you might,
Check with them.
as do lawyers.
I'll
we
check
need
with
to
city
move on.
traffic and
Yeah.
see what that is. I will do.
Okay, so next go around, yeah, do you wanna move or?
Yeah,
or-
no, so yeah, I'll, call for the question.
Okay,
I'm sorry, I have a question.
Yes,
Would
go
it help if we amend, as far as the priorities of TechStat, would it help if we amend instead of a bike, road or what's it called, a pedestrian crossing? Would that help as far as the language requirements?
It's the
No.
same.
The priorities will stay the same? All right,
okay.
I would like to make a note, Mayor, and I guess MPO Board, that, you know, the I-69 project that we talked about earlier, we are working with the city on their bike master plan, and we will be including the bicycle pedestrian facility on I-69. So there will be pedestrian and bicycle movements that will be designed into that project.
Great. Okay, call for the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those against? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to discussion with possible action on the River Road project. I know it's been lingering, and my understanding was that there was a specific landowner that we were, you know, having issues. Have you had any luck?
You were the
It didn't work for me,
yeah, you were on point on that one.
So,
No?
no news, yeah.
No, okay.
Okay, then. I'm moving on. A discussion of possible action on the Chad Ruthinger Road. Again, yes, we have our Perez Garcia.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. Luis Perez Garcia, Webb County Engineer, for the record. I just wanted to give you a short update. The engineering firm is working diligently. We received a large volume of work product Friday afternoon. We are reviewing it. It has to do with the drainage areas and the hydrology of the Ruthinger Road section and the HR Road section. We have to preview it before we move on and get all of our checklists taken care of. But we are working together with the TxDOT folks and the engineering firm and trying to bring this project back into a reasonable timeline. I don't think the timeline has changed any. We're still looking for the same projected timeline. We will be bringing you a presentation as soon as everybody is okay with the information that will be presented. I hope that'll be the next meeting that I can bring that presentation forward, but it's not ready right now.
Okay, and for the record, I think we have if not all, something very close to the funding, all of the funding for the Chad Ruthinger
Yes, sir, that is
Road,
correct.
correct?
That is
It was, you know, people were saying, no, we don't have the funding, but it's my understanding we do, and we're just waiting on.
Based on the estimate that the county's consultant, or the city's consultant, has developed, the MPO has allocated Category 7 funds to match that estimate.
Right.
The estimate has not been vetted through TxDOT, so, you know, we can't vouch for it, but you all can.
And we don't think that there's going to be much that changes regarding the project, so I think the associated cost assessments are still valid.
Okay.
And those are Category 7 dollars, allocated through 2023. And again, Category 7 is the MPO money that comes directly to the MPO.
May I inquire?
Yes, go ahead.
So then, is it your position that the engineering, work has been completed?
Let me reemphasize, we're working on the environmental section right now. We are projecting that we'll be done, and we're working with TxDOT to make sure that the timelines that we're proposing that they would take to do the review are in line, and at that time, we'll present the product to you in a presentation. Like I said, hopefully the next MPO meeting, we'll have a presentation for the benefit of everyone regarding where the project is at and what we anticipate that the project will be done.
So assuming everything goes according to plan and we hit the next MPO meeting and the data looks good and the MPO, commission falls in line, when do you think this project can actually go out, can be leaded?
No, we still have to do a lot more design work after the environmental work, and no one's even been selected for that part of the project. So right now,
So
we're
with
doing
regard to the
environmental.
selection of, an engineering, company to do all the remaining work,
I still think construction is 2023, possibly a short period thereafter. Okay.
Okay, thank
Thank you very much.
Any other questions?
Thank you,
for the
sir.
board? And if not, thank you. Next, reports and presentations, update on the status of the bike master plan.
Yes, this is a bike master plan, RFQ that was, developed jointly with the, traffic, bike coordinator and the MPO. We issued we published the request for a statement of qualifications. They will be due April 1st. So as soon thereafter, we'll form a selection committee and grade any proposals and bring the ranked proposals to the MPO as
The
soon
master
thereafter.
plan would be for the entire city?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
it's got a 15-year horizon, and it'll be for the entire MPO study area,
Okay, thank you.
just slightly larger than the city.
Okay. Anything else that's not, no action required?
so by the next MPO meeting, you'll have, what, should we have?
I don't know if the next MPO meeting, because these are gonna be due, April 1st, and we still have to form the selection committee, send them out, get them graded, all of that stuff, so we'll try.
Okay.
Okay, next item is the citywide synchronization projects, status report.
Good
welcome.
afternoon, Robert Peña, Traffic
Mr.
Department.
Peña, welcome, sir.
I guess this will be the first update for this project since the start. With me is our consultant, Bob Austin with LAN, and he'll be giving a brief presentation on our status.
Mr. Austin, welcome. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mayor, MPO. Just real briefly, I thought it was good for us to give you an update on the signal synchronization project. We've made good progress. We started out with Mines Road. We've got several steps I'll just briefly mention. We count all the traffic.
Yeah, you don't have a map or less to
I
see
don't have a map.
what corridors you're focusing on more so?
Yeah, we've got 6 corridors, Mines Road from 35 going past Loop 20 out to where all the signalized intersections are, so in that stretch. And then we've got US 83, Guadalupe and Chihuahua, and then headed south. We've got 33 signals on that corridor. We've got State Highway 359 going out to the Loop 20, and McPherson Road, and then Business 35. So we've got those 6 corridors. The traffic counts have been collected, and we do before travel time.
Yeah, let me ask you this, do we have content from the bridge, Bridge 1 North, San Bernardo, or any of that?
Bridge 1 is a little bit further south of where we're going.
Okay, so your study doesn't cover that?
No, sir.
Okay. And hold your thought, and if it doesn't, can we do it in-house here? You know, we've done it, I think, before, because I usually get phone calls that apparently there's still some waiting times there.
Convent is part of the downtown grid system. We have 56 intersections online.
Santa
that
Maria
we
and all of
monitor
those,
Back
yeah.
from the office. It was part of an MPO synchronization project. But since then, we've experienced additional traffic on Bridge 1, so we've been monitoring that.
Okay. Yeah, also too, those 4.5 block area, leading into, or I guess out of Bridge 2. Is that something that you all are covering?
That's currently being managed, maintained by TechStop operation, the traffic synchronization.
Okay, and that doesn't include this MPO study we're doing? Yeah. Okay. Okay, go ahead, sir, I'm sorry.
Okay. In total, we've got about 80 signals that we're synchronizing on these 6 corridors. That's going well. We submit our signal optimized timings to the city. They review those. We tweak them a little bit. Then we go implement them, and we verify that we have. If you start at point A and you're getting to point B, that you get a green light light every time you get to the signal. So we do have that signal synchronization going for Mines Road and for McPherson, and we're doing others as we go. We just did McPherson last month. The second week in April, we'll be doing 359, and then the first week in May, US 83 in those areas I mentioned, and then Business 35 in the fall. One of the things that we experienced last September was a lot of rain, and as y'all recall, normally 3 inches, Laredo got over 15 inches. We couldn't get our traffic counts done in that month. And of course, you don't want to take traffic counts during the summer because there's no school in session, right? So what we're proposing this evening on the consent agenda is an extension of this project till November, so that we can do our after our after travel time runs, and then make the presentation to the city council this fall. No extra request for funds, but we would like to request a little bit more time.
Okay, so in terms of timeline, you foresee this?
And so really it's not slowing down any of the work as far as, you know, the signal synchronization is continuing. We're going to have all 5 corridors in operation before school lets out, synchronized. We have one left, which is Business 35, that would happen in September.
And of course, we're not even touching McPherson and all those major arterials.
We are getting McPherson. That
are
was,
you?
yes.
Okay.
That,
Oh, okay. Well,
that is one. 11 signals on McPherson. So
okay.
that's,
Any questions for the gentleman? Or?
Were you just on Business 35, Mr. Austin, or were you looking at Interstate 35 as well?
both, and we're looking at that as a whole system together, because Business 35, we want it synchronized north and south, but not interrupting, you know, the east-west movements on IH-35. So we're working closely with the city and TxDOT on that.
Is it the major intersections on Interstate 35?
Yes, the major ones. It's from Carlton south.
Okay.
Yeah, south of Carlton. So.
Okay, thank you, sir. Appreciate it. The next item is the outer loop alignment study.
I can give a quick briefing.
Okay.
Mayor, so, you know, you've heard me say before, we have a firm called Jacobs on board to reassess the alignment and to begin schematic on the outer loop. So currently, any day now we'll get what we call a project management plan from Jacobs. Some items of highlight that will include are reassessing the alignment to determine if there's any type of, you know, physical obstacle that has occurred since we last looked at the alignment back in 2006, 2007. After that, you know, you'll be seeing us out in the public, having these meetings with affected property owners, one-on-one, kind of like the Shiloh project, visiting with the property owners, informing them of the project, and, you know, again, getting information from them on the project grounds. You will see us in the future having public meetings, you know, open to the public to inform them about what's going on with the project. After that, we'll move on to schematic phase. But as we go along, Mayor, we'll be coming up to the MPO and, you know, possibly council if you want, because this is a very large project, over $400 million worth of construction estimate so far. We don't have the construction dollars allocated, but it is one of these projects that's about 10 or so years out. It's imperative that we start planning the project now. We want to be proactive in our approach, not reactive, especially with discussions of, you know, perhaps a Bridge 4-5 and, you know, south of Laredo. This is, you know, a connection that's imperative to that project as well. So again, you know, working hand in hand with you all as you develop that project, and us with the outer loop, I feel that we're making good leeway in our timing to address a project of this magnitude. But again, we'll be coming back monthly, periodically, and let you know how our consultant and I are doing, or we are doing on this project. So we're excited about this one. It's big for Laredo.
Yeah, we need that. Thank you again. Let's see, status report by TxDOT on ongoing projects. Do we have any other one? Yes, sir, go ahead. Mr. Rodriguez.
Roberto Rodriguez with the TxDOT for the record, and yes, First of all, we're gonna start Mr. Carlos Rodriguez for construction.
Okay, we have Carlos and Roberto, yeah.
Yeah. Good afternoon, Carlos Rodriguez for the record, area engineer for TechStop. First one I want to talk to about the Kansas City Railroad, which is the Oscar Renda project. There's been quite a bit of advancements made from last time we met, which was 2 months ago. We're like 95% complete right now. We have completed all our bridges are open, all the roadways are open. The hot mix has been
What a
completed.
difference, it really is making a tremendous difference.
Now we still lack some striping, some tie-ins, buttons, that type of thing, some handrail, and for the pedestrian rail, for the pedestrian walkway. So that we're looking to bring into completion, basically early summer, hopefully May or somewhere around there. Now the next one is a 25.5 million investment. The next one will be in US 59 and 35. That one is moving forward nicely, 68% complete, another $25.5 million investment. The contractor right now, as we speak, I believe we only lack 2 more spans of beams. And then after that, we'll place more panels and continue with the bridge deck placement. Everything is moving forward on that one, and we're anticipating towards the end of.
Yeah, we call that loop 20 and 35, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Yeah, so the folks won't get
Right, and
too confused, yeah.
as basically as everybody comes into Laredo from 35, they're noticing the big difference on the way the project is looking. Another one that I want to talk about is 359. 359, we have the spot-based repair, basically from a couple of miles outside, which is from Loop 20, 4.8 miles, all the way up to the county line. It's a $28 million investment, and we're looking to complete it somewhere at winter 2020 or before, God willing. Now, the project itself, we're looking at 5% complete, but we're looking because of the spot-based repairs. Once we get all the spot-based repairs, then we will be basically, will become from a spot-based repair to an overlay. Overlays are extremely fast. Weather permitting and material permitting, they'll go fast. The next one I want to talk about is US 83, 3.4 miles south of 44 to basically the Demet County line. That's a $49 million investment in TxDOT. On that one itself, the project itself, we haven't had the start hasn't started yet. We've had the pre-con. We're still doing things with the traffic control to try to expedite the project itself. Once that is completed, that between the contractor and TxDOT, we'll move forward with the project and try to expedite it prior to that 2022 that you see on the screen. The last one I want to talk about is Mines Road. Mines Road is 97% complete. It's an Angel Brothers project. $2.9 million investment. The reason why that's been on hold is because right now is the close season for seal coat.
It's a what?
Close season. In other words, it's not good right now because of the bad weather, temperature. So we have an open season and we have a closed season.
For overlays?
No, for seal coats. Seal coat is a different type of operation other than a hot mix overlay.
Okay, so it's a material that you overlay, correct?
Yeah, you put your asphalt and you put your rock on top.
Right.
And it looks at a different type of configuration. Like I've had discussions with the bicycle community.
Yeah.
On that bicycle community, they sometimes complain about the seal coat because the rock is too big.
Mm-hmm.
If you go and you change the configuration of the rock. On this one, we're waiting for the seal coat season to open on April the 1st. From that point on, we'll displace the seal coat and do the striping, the final striping, and the project will be
So
completed.
y'all gonna go with the bigger rocks?
Not exactly.
This is north of State Highway 255?
That's Tiendas?
Yes.
I know, that's,
This is,
Camino Colombia.
Camino Colombia, 255 is Camino Colombia.
so we're going north of Camino Colombia
10.8 miles north,
to where the pavement ends?
no,
How far out are we going?
just 2 miles. It's a small section there that we've had a lot of problems with before.
And those are mostly oil field vehicles that make use of that road. It's not really port related.
Yeah. Yeah, this doesn't add capacity, obviously, it just improves it.
Right, preventive
maintain-
maintenance, it
preventive
basically,
maintenance.
it helps have the maintenance crews, instead of going out there various times throughout the month and repairing the sections because of the heavy loads, they'll get repaired, and then we don't have to invest time there. We can concentrate on other roadways in other areas within the county.
Okay.
And basically, in a nutshell, that's what we have.
Wonderful. Do we have any questions for the gentleman? And if not, I thank you. Yeah, thank you very much. Yes, do we have any? No? Okay. Your status report on the RMA. Do we have anyone here for the
Oh,
RMA?
no, the RMA did contact me that they would not be able to attend. However, they did transmit their update and asked me to pass it on to the committee. And it's in your packet, but I'll go ahead and read it for you. The RMA reports that the infra grant application supported by the city of Laredo and assisted in submitting the final application to grants.gov, and that happened on March 4th. Vallesia Road, that's from FM 1472 to I-35, is awaiting final consent from TxDOT Debt Finance Department on the financial plan. Upon consent, a release of the draft agreement to the city of Laredo and the Killam Company will be expected.
Can we hit pause real quick?
Sure.
TxDOT, do we have any update on that?
On the financial plan?
It's a pass-through.
It's a pass-through, from what, we have been told, it's a pass-through finance application. Those are being, even though there's not a project call-out by Texas Department of Transportation, they are being accepted. And so that will be looked at. Pass-through finance plans are negotiated by our executive director if they are selected, so that will be negotiated at the James Bass level. He's our executive director. And so, I think that the RMA is working on that application, and I would imagine that they'll present that to the MPO before it's submitted.
So in essence, pass-through, the developer would cover the cost, and then
Correct.
TxDOT would reimburse that developer.
TxDOT would reimburse, it would be a developer, a syndicate, whatever that group organization is, and we would reimburse based on a minimum mileage and a maximum mileage that traverses the completed facility once it's open to traffic.
Do we have an ETA on when TxDOT is going to make a decision on that?
That's all gonna depend, Councilman, as to when it's submitted, and, I guess we haven't seen a submittal date currently, so.
It has been submitted to y'all, correct?
No, sir. No, sir, it has not.
Okay.
And to be, on their account, they are waiting for some information from our debt finance department in Austin as to whether some of the actions that have occurred are sufficient to submit as part of that application. So they are waiting on some information from TxDOT.
Okay, and next?
The next item is on the Los Presidentes contract.
The
That's,
what now?
I'm sorry?
What contract?
It's the Los Presidentes contract.
Oh, yes.
And that is from Cuatro Vientos to Concord Hills. The RMA met with myself, the city engineer, and legal staff to review staff comments. What happens is they submit it to us, we all reviewed the agreement and provided comments, and then we had some follow-up questions. So we met with the RMA and we reviewed the
And
documents.
that's for that corridor that would attach to Cuatro
Concord
Vientos,
Hills.
correct? From Los Presidentes area?
Yeah, all the way to Concord.
East-west corridor,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's right.
Connection, yeah, okay.
They're anticipating the final draft to be complete by the end of March. I think that might be a little bit, I don't think that
Too soon.
I think it might be too soon. What's happening right now is their if I remember correctly, they are going to update it per our comments, and then they're gonna submit it to our legal department, who will then update it per her own comments and all of the city staff's
Have we
comments.
decided on the participation? I know the city somewhere somehow is gonna contribute, and there's a water district there, or a drainage district.
Yes.
You know,
And the
has the
participation
funding been
amounts
secured for that, or?
Are in there,
Our
you know,
funding
I'm
is
not
secured.
sure. I'm
There's
not sure if
several-
our funding has been secured yet.
Okay, but the RMA can give us a more thorough for
Yeah.
next time, okay.
So-
Because I'm not sure as to how, I know that we're trying to get something from the city, and I just wanna make sure whether in fact they
Yeah,
got it or
and
not.
they're there, I just don't have it with me, so I apologize, I didn't bring it
No problem.
with me. And then, of course, it has to go back to their attorney to review our attorney's changes, so that's why I think by the end of March, I think that might be a bit too, optimistic.
Okay.
Okay, so, and then basically the same thing happened with Killen, we did both of them at the same time, so it's the same process. North Laredo Webb County Transportation Planning Study, this is that big study that was approved, for funding through the MPO. The advanced funding agreement is executed, the RMA is awaiting FHWA funding authorization letter to execute the work authorization and anticipate receipt of said, by the end of March.
Okay, there was one.
Hold on, is that realistic? By March, we'll have that signed and ready to go?
Well, along
Excellent.
those lines, based on the conversation that we had, Melissa and David, there may be, you know, since we're doing this port master plan for the city of Laredo, and I think we need another component there to better address future mobility needs of traffic, primarily exiting the World Trade Bridge into, you know, all that area there. And I think,
That's what
Melissa,
the
did
study
you?
will, that's what the study will.
No, well, as a matter of fact, I think we
contemplate.
need one more component, right?
I think that might be a separate little agreement.
Oh, okay, so,
Mayor. Yes,
so we don't need this here?
No, sir,
Okay.
that can be included separately.
Yeah, because, you know, obviously we need all the formula there, the complete formula. If we're doing this and then, you know, something else we need at the
Traffic
end.
projections,
But,
all
but
that stuff.
being
yeah.
that consultant doesn't have, that scope of services, available, then that can be a separate component.
With the
separately.
RMA?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Well, I think that's what, your staff and the RMA are working out.
Okay, I just wanna make sure that there's still, yeah, we're moving forward on this, and I guess RMA will confirm that at their next meeting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yes,
at the next, NPO meeting,
at the next MPO meeting.
okay.
With that, that's the end of the agenda, Mr. Mayor. Before everybody leaves, and I think this is a slight deviation, but I wanted to, we've been recently informed that, and I'm sorry to embarrass you if this does embarrass you, but we've been recently informed that today will be Ms.
Do you
Montemayor's
mind if I do that,
last
Angie? Do you mind if-
MPO meeting.
Do you
I'm
mind
sorry?
if I do that?
I'm sorry?
You mind if I do that?
Yeah, David
Oh,
had asked that maybe,
okay. Well, just on behalf of staff, we wanted to express our sincere thanks. We've worked with her for many, many years, and she's always been a font of knowledge and, you know, invaluable to both this organization and to our community, so we wanted to thank her.
You didn't leave anything for me to say.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Mayor, I just want to publicly thank Ms. Melissa Montemayor for 29 and plus years of service to the state of Texas. Officially, she'll be retiring the 1st of April.
5th of April.
5th of April with 4.5 years of service to the Texas Parks and Wildlife, 25 plus years to TxDOT. I want to publicly thank her for what she's done not only for TxDOT, but local communities, not only Laredo, but all the way up to Del Rio and across the span of districts that counties that we carry, consultants, numerous people that she's trained under her. Big shoes to fill, but she is going on to, I'm not gonna say bigger and better things, but she's going on and following her career path, but I wanna wish her the best, and I wanna thank her publicly for the service that she has given to the state of Texas.
Thank
Yeah,
you,
Melissa,
thank you.
if I may, I'll allow, you know, each of the commissioners to express themselves as well. Again, on my behalf, I can't think of transportation without thinking of your name, because you've been there for us as far as any question, any expression as to our needs. It seems like you've got the answers for us, and the money. Somehow the money flows, and we appreciate that tremendously. Yeah, we'll miss you, and I know you'll be around. in some other capacity, but we welcome, you know, your continued support and thoughts, you know, regarding our plans here as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much,
Doctor,
Mayor.
do you have any comments or anyone else?
I just sat here for the first time and I learned a lot when I was here. So I wish I would have sat here the last 3 meetings. Congratulations.
Thank
to
you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Anyone else?
Thank you.
Yeah, well, I mean, District 7 is losing a good friend and an ally. You know, very early on when I, you know, was confronted with all of the, you know, real complex, expensive fixes. You specifically, I remember a phone call, you know, we had, you know, many phone calls, but one in particular where we looked at the language and you got creative and we were able to turn shoulders into lanes and make things happen. And so, you know, it's a testament to your commitment to the community and the port and the people, and you'll be missed. And so, wishing you well and Godspeed in all of your endeavors.
Thank you so much, Councilman.
Melissa, same here. I, you know, had the privilege to meet you and, you know, express the thanks from the community as well, because we've seen throughout the years everything that you have done and been key leader in the transportation area that has connected our city with all this, you know, exponential growth. And I learn a lot from you. Every time I will call you for technical data or you know, some of the language that I needed for my items with City Council. And I thank you for your leadership. Also, as a female leader in this area, I look up to you. Thank you. God bless.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Councilman. Thank you to all of you. It's been a wonderful career. And, you know, in working, you know, and that's why I told everybody, you know, it's been such a hard decision to retire, because I love coming to work every day and I love working with the people that I see every day, whether it be in the office, out of the office, in the community, with all of you. And that's what made this decision so very hard. But, you know, all of the experiences that I've had, you know, with my tenure here with TxDOT and with you, have actually allowed me to be able to retire and move on to another opportunity. And so keep on keeping my name synonymous with transportation mayor, because I'll still be working in the transportation field in another capacity. But so I'll still be around. But again, I want to thank you all, because you have made my career so enjoyable and so rewarding. And again, you know, I hope to see you all in the future in a different capacity. I'm not gone. I'll be out in the audience perhaps in the next MPO meeting. So, but thank you all. It's been wonderful.
Thank you, Melissa. On that final note, do we have any other business for this commission?
We have nothing
For the MPO? No? Okay. Is there a motion that we adjourn?
So moved.
Second? Seconded. Discussion unheard. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those against say no. Motion carries. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.